So hello everyone, my name is Christoph. I'm the co-founder of the ChartMill stock screener, and welcome to the very first episode of our new interview series where we talk to swing traders who use ChartMill on a regular basis and break down exactly how they find their trade setups. And for our first episode, I'm joined by Ransome Mathias from Canada. So Ransome, welcome and thank you for being here. Ransome has been a loyal ChartMill user for years, and he's active on X where he regularly shares charts and setups. And a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to him and asked him if he would walk us through his strategy, his day-to-day process, and how he uses ChartMill to consistently spot the type of setups that he trades. So in this episode, Ransome will show the exact way he uses ChartMill each day, what he scans for, what he ignores, and how he narrows down to the best setups. So Ransome, I'm really excited about this one because I think it's going to help a lot of ChartMill users shorten their learning curve on how to use our stock screener. I know you've prepared a presentation, so I won't interrupt. And then once you're done, I'll come back with a few questions. So I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Chris. I'm really excited to be part of this interview. I'm really honored to be part of this whole process that I am being offered to be part of this interview. Thank you so much for having me on your interview. It's been really fruitful 2025, and that is why I started to be very active on the X because I started to use ChartMill in 2023 or so. At the time, I was learning how to use it, and then I got good at it. And then I got even better at it. And in 2025, I really was able to have really good performance. And I was very satisfied. And it was time for me to give back. And as part of that giving back, I'm really happy that you invited me for this interview and happy to share all the knowledge I have. Perfect. Okay, so that's the agenda I have. I'm going to introduce a little bit and then walk my investment style, what I do and what's my style of investment. Then I'm going to quickly talk through about my performance, how my performance was in 2025, and then about a little bit about ChartMill, the background and its screeners, and some of the other stuff. Then I'll also talk about the risk management, position sizing, all of that stuff. And in the end, we'll talk about all the the reasons why I heavily use ChartMill. It's really the good stuff of it, so that users can see why I use ChartMill. And of course, there's room for improvement. I'll be happy to suggest a few improvements at the very end. Okay, so to introduce myself, well, I live in Canada since 2010. I'm an engineer by education. I used to work for Deloitte as a consultant for many years. And then I quit in 2017. Since then, I've been independent consultant. I don't work for any company. And that gave me the leverage to be, I'm a self-employed. At the same time, I can do my job, and trading was something I took up after that. But if I want to talk about my investment career, it did not start in 2018 after I became independent. I really had started in 2007 before the subprime crisis. So I saw the good stuff before the subprime crisis because I was new. I was a boy out of the education. I was with a roommate who taught me about investment, and I had a lot of cash. We just started to put in, and then I saw the money was always multiplying that year. And then the 2008 happened. That's where I got completely flushed out. And to me, I didn't know. I thought that I know everything about market because you just need to keep investing, and then the money will grow. But then soon I realized that this is something not as easy as I think. And then I completely stopped investing from 2008. And then this was my return after 2018, after 10 years.
Yeah, I don't think you were the only one who was disappointed at that time.
Yeah. I learned the hard way. I've actually really seen some painful stuff. And that was at the very initial part of my investment career, right? So that's why the pain was so big that I never got back for 10 years. So which is why I'm here, that there may be a lot of ChartMill users and many other people who can consume a lot of losses, and that can be so painful that it can be over a decade, or it can take a lot of time to heal. because it took a lot of time for me to again go back, build my career when I had some cash. Then I know I have some money to again reinvest. Since 2020 is when I was more serious. During the COVID time, it was a little bit, where everybody was working from home, or people were remote, or people lost jobs and all of that stuff. Trading and investment was something which was big during those time. And then again, because for me, I'd learned the lesson so early enough. 2020 was that defining year where everybody was investing, and I knew it won't be that easy. Everybody is going to get trapped. So I was very cautious in 2020 when I got back. I was very careful, very, very conservative. Everybody was making money. And then I was like thinking, why am I missing out? But then I told myself, I don't want to do what I've done in the past. The 2008 lesson was so big that I was very conservative, very conservative. Every year I was very conservative. And that really helped me to believe that if I'm patient, the patience is so important in investment. It taught me a lot of patience during that time, those 2-3 years, because that enabled me to learn, read books, also watch videos, learn from people who are already trading, also try to paper trade, all of that stuff, right? So I started to do all of that stuff. And like, I started to see progress because the market was good in 2020, but I did not call myself that I'm successful. 2021, I wanted to see again, how am I doing? Because again, it was a tough year, but I did okay. 2020 was tough year. I did okay. 2023 and 2024 is when I really started to feel like I have all the knowledge, I'm using them, and I'm making money. And I would say 2025 is where I feel like everything come together. It was this year, and that's why I'm here with you, sharing all of that stuff. Okay, so coming to investment style. So I'm a swing trader. I've tried all of the different methods of trading. Like I've day traded, I've option traded, I've done futures market, forex market, uh, all kinds of things like crypto, all of that stuff. Finally, my home where I find myself is in swing trading. And for me, I don't want to be like watching the price and every tick every minute. I like to keep it, like keep a position, hold it. If it hits my stop loss, it's fine. I can keep it for a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, depends on the kind of the stock, right? So it's my best scenario. I operate really, really well on swing trade. And I think ChartMill is a perfect marriage there, because ChartMill is designed for swing traders. And after trying a lot of things, I was here, and then it just helped me, because I was going along the way, and I landed into that process of finding the swing trading process. And then within swing trade, I narrowed down myself to VCP pattern. So that's something which is heavily used in the community. So I started to read books about it, and I tend to just catch VCP volume contraction patterns as much as possible. I also try to trade on IPO based breakouts, and sometimes momentum breakouts. I try to see if there's a weekly breakout happening. Even there, it's still again fundamentally VCP, but I need to see price tightening, and then I try to see if I can do a momentum breakout. Um, and in ChartMill, there's something cool feature, the 5-day new high, which I don't think I've seen anywhere. It's so cool that there's a lot of times there's a breakout and you think that you missed out and you don't know if it's going to continue, but there's an orderly price drop happens. It does not take down the day low of the breakout price, but it gives you the second chance to enter. And I really like the 5-day new high filter. I'm going to talk through all of that stuff. So overall, that's my investment style. Finally, I also want to mention briefly about, I use the ICT concept and value gap concept. It's a very complex concept, which I don't want to delve into in this one, but that's something, it's not really required to be a swing trader, but I'd say that it's a knowledge I already have and I tend to use in my process of investment.
So, if I'm correct, you are influenced by you refer to the VCP pattern, so by Mark Minervini, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Minervini. I've read his books, couple of books. I've seen his videos, interviews, all of that stuff. Even Kalamagi as well. I wouldn't say he's more of a episodic pivot, all those types of thing. But VCP is more Mark Minervini style. Yeah. So this is my performance in 2025. So this is my equity curve. So I really had a very flattish to a little bit of drawdown in the beginning part of 2025, which I think was for the most part because there was a lot of these tariff related flush out happened in the market. And that's why anything we could get into as a breakout, they were not falling through. I didn't find much success in the first part of the year. Maybe that's something which I have to improve in this current year, right? Whenever there is not the right environment, maybe stay more in cash. I did have risk mitigation, which I always do, and that's why the curve is not very deep. And then it was very flattish, and then it recovered during June. And then for the rest of the year, I was always up. I did really well in the second part of the year, and I never went down. At the very end, you can see a little bit of drop again during the November and December. There was again market was choppy, as you know. A lot of breakouts didn't work.
It's true. I've also experienced it. So yeah.
Yeah, so that was my performance curve. In terms of overall, I have multiple accounts, one for a long term, one for based on different type of risk and management. One is a bigger account, smaller account. So I have many accounts. So overall, my performance was 45%. And I would say my best performance was 126%. It was actually above 160 or something at some point. There was a little bit of drawdown in the month of October and November, which is why I ended up still triple digit. But I would want to have multiple accounts having triple digits in this year. So that's my goal.
Yeah. And your best performance, you mean on an individual stock or?
Not an individual. This is on my overall account. My best performance as an individual stock was 350%, or maybe a couple of them more than 100%.
Some multi-baggers, as they say.
Yeah, multi-baggers. Again, they were all found on ChartMill, mostly on ChartMill. Some maybe I had a watch list and then I was just seeing something. But again, my primary watch list is always derived from ChartMill.
And that's something which is typical for swing traders using this kind of setups. You only need a couple of months, real good market environment to have these kind of results.
Yeah, so true. And that's the lesson for me from 2025, that I am just trying to do what I did in 2025 and even mitigate it better in 2026. Yeah, so my primary tools, right? So ChartMill, I'm going to speak mostly about ChartMill. I'll show my charts on TradingView. That's my second tool, which I use. Of course, TradingView gives me flexibility to zoom in, zoom out, all of that stuff. So these are the two tools which I use every day, the first hour of the market and the last hour of the market. The other tools, I don't want to mention them. You can just see on the screen. I just barely use them. It's not very useful for me. And some of them which I have used in the past, I no longer use them. Okay, so let me talk about the chart setup, right? So like I discussed, I look for volume contraction pattern. And this is one of the classic pattern which I want to see. There is a basis happening, and I would want to see my eyes. I've tried to train seeing lots of charts, like hundreds and thousands of charts I've seen over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And I've tried to see how stocks move. And I've tried to memorize. And even a couple of days ago, I think I was mentioning you that I remember a chart which Chris has posted in 2024, and it went like 80%. And I traded that, right? So
I didn't have the time to look it up, but I will have a look. It was in 2020.
Yeah, I remember because you had posted that, and that's what my brain is always looking for, this type of patterns. And if any ChartMill user, they're using ChartMill, I would recommend them to try to see whenever you open a ChartMill, and then you want to see how the charts are looking for you. Can you see there's basis happening? If they can train their eyes for some of these patterns, I'm going to show some of my favorite patterns. This is one of my favorite patterns. What happens is there is basing period happen, and then there's a breakout happen. So I'm okay to miss out on the yellow part of the breakout. It's okay. it may be 50%, 100%, whatever that percentage might be. I'm okay to miss out on that big move. Then I want to see that contraction happening, uh, uh, where there's a price contraction happens. And it gives me an opportunity where the prices start to bounce above the moving average. That's when I try to enter, so that I have a very, very low stop loss, because if it collapses, it's okay, it's fine, I don't lose much. But if it goes up, I have at least 3 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours type of a return, right?
So do you try to enter on the breakout itself or do you wait for the retest?
I don't like to enter on the breakout unless the breakout is from a very, very tight area, and the breakout is like 2% or 3%. Um, Usually stocks moves in a day when on a breakout it does a 5% or a 10%. That's my general observation. If it does 7% or 8% on a breakout, it's going to hit a 10% on that day. So I may want to enter at 6% or so. So I have 4% as a room, so that the stock goes at 10% and maybe finish at 8 or 9%, right? And if a breakout is at a very, very tight area, and it's going to be 2 or 3%, then I can enter with a very low stop loss, because the stock might do a 5%. My fundamental goal is to make sure that even if it's a big breakout, I don't want to have a bigger stop loss. I want to have as narrow stop loss as possible, right? That's my goal. This is chart setup 2, where there's a big base, large base, and within that base you can see multiple smaller bases doing inside a cup. It's like multiple cups inside a cup, and then there's going to be choppy action at the very end, because usually these algos are trying to shake out a lot of stop losses, right? So you could enter at the first time as well, and then it shakes up. That does not mean that the stock is invalid anymore. I still wait to see if it tapers on the far right. And after that tapering is when I try to enter on this setup.
I think this one is, if you have read the book from O'Neill, How to Make Money in Stocks. I think this one is called the saucer pan.
Yeah, yeah, I've read his book as well. Yeah, here's this one more. Here's usually this could be like on the far left. I've shown like a big yellow line, right? That could be a stock which does 150% up because it was a massive big news, right? So it's a biotech or whatever that might be, or there was a big merger between two big companies, whatever that could be, right? And then you just have to wait, because now you can't enter at that time and sit for 6 months and there's no action, right? You wait for that, like a very thin, very shallow base can happen, and then there's one wild move again, and then what happens is it again gives up everything. I like that process, that it goes up and gives up everything, because it holds that level which was formed over several weeks and months, right? When I know that it's holding that level, I get attention into such stocks and then I enter, because these are the ones which can move a lot. So that's one other setup which I can talk. These are just for visual. I would say for ChartMill users to see if they see the charts, if they can see this on the chart, the price action like this, that's good training for the eyes.
I have one rule for myself. If I don't see the setup in the blink of an eye, it's probably not a setup.
Yeah, I really like how you say put things there. If you need more than, like, I have a different way. If I need more than like 8 seconds or something, there's like an 8 second rule or something in my mind. I don't have the exact number as 8 or 7. The moment I know I'm staring a little bit more to try to find a pattern, then I know there's no pattern there. Yeah, I have some examples I'm going to walk through very quickly now. So let me go to these are some of the classic examples. I traded them. That's why I'm showing them on here. MVST, RR, Reddit, even the RGTI, Robinhood, all of them, they did really, really good in 2025. And I did take them and I got the maximum out of these. And I'm going to show them as an example of how I traded them. And then I'm going to show the process of how I use the ChartMill after, right?
So to be clear, these are setups from your current 2025 portfolio. Yeah, okay.
I have done these trades in current 2025, and I traded them. I made profit out of them. I exited them. So all of them were very good examples. These are the good examples. Okay, so let me just go to MVST, right? So if you see here, MVST has made a big move. So I know I missed out this move. I'm okay with that move. And what I started to see here is I try to draw right away so that people can see there's big basing happening here. And I also draw lines. This is also one another important note for the users to make sure that wherever you see the tops, start to draw lines. Once you start to draw lines and once you start to draw the cups, you start to work with VCP. And then if you see there's one more, if you want to say, you can say there is a cup here. I don't like to enter at the top of the cup and then here I'm going to miss out here, right? All of this move because I'm a little bit advanced VCP swing trader. So I try to get it a little bit at the low of the base, which is what Mark Minervini teaches. If you can catch that breakout after the price is tightening, let me show the exact process why I did what I did there. Let me just zoom in real quick. So here's where that big move has happened and then it's come down, right? So now here the price reclaimed the 50-day moving average, which is the blue line. And then there's the light blue line that is the 21-day moving average. And the red line is the 10-day moving average. The price reclaimed all of them. And I was just waiting for these moving average to converge. So the moment I know they all converge around this point and the price is now above all of them, and in the order of Mark Minervini says the 10 days above the 21 day and the 21 days above the 50 days. So once that occurred, this is where I entered around $1.6575 on this day. So let me just show, right? So if you see, this is what I see on the screen. I don't have the rest of the move.
So you have a very tight stop loss also.
Yeah, on the day of trading, I see this. And to me, I'm like, oh, this is like 56% move. I'm scared. I'm scared. This can a very volatile stock. It can also tank down all of that because it's come down all the way, right? I've been waiting for this to see whether this line gets broken there. And for me, when it's here, my previous day when I zoom in, I'll just try to zoom in more for the users. If you see here, this is what I want to see, the small candles. And if I remember, it was either one of the two filters I used on the chart mill. Either it was the 5-day new high or it was the bounce from the 10-day moving average. So one of those two filters, when the price went above here, I think it was here at some 174 or something, when it went above 10-day moving average, right? That's exactly when I got in and I got the follow through and I exited at $2 or something because I know $2 is a logical level again. It's a dollar in $1 something stock. I know there will be a pullback at $2. I exited. I re-entered back again here. So I'm going to walk through all the steps. This was that move. It tapered here. I entered here, right? And my stop loss was maybe 5%, I think at that time. 5 or 6% it was because it was a very volatile stock. So probably I made about 30% or 25% because I exited at $2 and I did not fully exit. I exited only about half of it and I kept the rest half of it. It gave back everything. I was wondering, oh, what's going to happen now, right? I was still watching and it never gave up the 21-day moving average. So when I saw it was gliding along that 21-day moving average here, for me, I was waiting and waiting. I was seeing that I want to see one more high was there. I wanted to see if it can throw a higher low. So this was that higher low it threw. And here again, I entered on this line. This time, I actually exposed even more than my initial position I had here because this was that conviction I had at that time that it's going to go wild now because this has held along and not given up the 21 day. And I had a very, very low stop loss because I'm already 20% up from the previous one. Now I can take a bigger risk. And this was one of the best trade I did. Every step of the way, I did this whole move from here to here. I exited in two parts here. I can't remember exactly because again, this was the month of May and June-ish. And if you see my equity curve was doing better in the end of the month A and after. So I did well here and then I exited one or two times. Then if I zoom out, I don't think I got this part of the move. I did not get that part of the move. It was very choppy. And then I was like, oh, okay, fine, that's fine. I left alone. And then look what happened. It gave the exact same situation for me again. And I draw the line here. I again re-entered right around here. It's unbelievable that how in a matter of a month or two, it gave me the opportunity again. I entered again at $2 something. I don't know exact price. I entered either this green candle or this one, either one of them. Uh, because again I was quite confident that this has such a large move. Usually, there's like it's stepping stairs, so there's usually two or three handles, right? So it has had two handles. I knew that it's going to do the third handle, so I entered around that. Again, my stop loss was 5 or 6% because it was a heavy.
And that thick white line is the 200 MA, or
Yeah, the white line is the 200 ma. Yeah. So this again, this was even faster move, and I think I have this. Oh yeah, I marked this here. So this is the day I entered. If you see here, I entered here. I wanted to target here, but I still got out one time, and then I kept the rest of it. Maybe $6 or so. I got out. It's unbelievable that I got the almost near top on this. Yeah, very very good trade I did. Then I'm going to talk about RR. It was such a clean VCP setup again. So if you see here, 2025, this is in 2025, right? So let me just go. Yeah, here. So this had made that move December 2024. So I know there's a previous move and then there's a big drop here. I like such stocks which have gone from $1 to $10 or whatever, and then made a big steep high, gone up, and then they taper along the 200-day moving average, the white line, right? When I know that that stock is basing again and then curls up is what I'm waiting for. So I drew the line here. I drew the line here. I know it's not the perfect line I drew, but I was just trying to see where. So when it had gone out, I still didn't trade until these higher lows were formed. Somewhere around here is where I grabbed it. Again, in the summer months, in the August, something like $2.30, 40 cents, something like that, because it was about 200-day. It was above the 50-day moving average, above everything else, and it never came below there. So it just went crazy from there. But I did not get this one as good as MEST. I think I got out here a little bit and then I missed this move. Again, I tried to get in, but I was a little bit late. I don't think this is the best execution from my standpoint, but the stock was one of the best to be traded, but I don't think I did a good job. I'll explain why. Because if you see the stock, for any users, this is such a classic. And in 2026, if I get another one like this, I will not miss out, because if you see this move here, after such a big long basing, it came back, 21-day moving average bounce up, 21-day moving average bounce up. Every single time it bounced up off that, and this was the after the third handle it went down. So these legs, if one had caught, let me just see, I think I made about 80% or so. That's it. I didn't make a big percent on this one.
yeah, that's those kind of stocks, very low priced, so very heavy volatility.
Yeah, it's 210 16%, but I made about 80% on this. Again, there was patience baked into it, right? I was waiting for it. It's not that I jumped into it randomly. I was having this on my watch list. I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And there are days when I run the chart mill screeners.
And
If I
do you know which filter you have used to found this one?
This one, I'm 100% sure it's the 5-day new high, because I did not catch it very tight, because it made a breakout. I entered a little bit after the breakout. I, and even on the pullback, the respect of 21-day moving
Yeah, the
average.
pullback was also a very
Again here.
nice entry. Huh? A doji candle right on the 21 MA.
Yeah. It's fantastic. The second grab. Again, I was late there. I did not grab on that day, but I grabbed on the next day, because when you get a big like move, right? In the first 15 minutes, it's up 5%. Like I said, when I do a breakout, if it is gone 5%, 6% up instantly on a bigger volume, then I can enter that, because I know it will do the 10%. Only in that case. Of course, in some cases, I do get stopped out. I do get flushed out 5% stop loss. But if I can get the follow through, instead of the 5% stop loss, I can get 20, 25% upside, right? So that's about at least 3 or 4 hours I get. That's the risk reward ratio I have. That's how I manage. I don't necessarily always do the $2 for $4. I always see the setup. I don't really respect in terms of $2, $5, $100, thousand. I don't have such mental thing about a stock price. For me, everything is about setup. If there is data, if there is volume, if there is I can spot that the price tightening has happened, if there is enough alarm and notifications in my head that this is a good setup, then I take that trade irrespective. But I don't want to take trades on stocks which is below $100 million minimum. Yeah, I need to have something above 100 million, preferably 300 million and above. A little bit more comfort zone would be anything above $1 billion.
Yeah, you have to be
So
ensure yourself that there's enough liquidity. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly, right? So I don't want some pump dump action to happen under $100 million stock, right? So I don't really like them. So I have traded them in the past and learned through those mistakes in the COVID times and whatever. But I was very conservative again. I was not putting a lot of money, but I learned that okay, you need to really be careful about what market capital you're dealing with. Okay, so a few more examples. Let me just see. Okay, IPO breakouts, right? So IPO, I trade IPOs. I love IPO trades. That again is another filter I use on ChartMill. I'm gonna walk through on. Uh, so one of the thing which I want to tell the users of ChartMill is if there's an IPO listed, any IPO, right? I never trade an IPO when it's listed in the beginning. I like the stock listed, let it go wild or whatever, let it have volatility. I don't care what stock is, what market capital that is. Let it pass months and weeks and years. So I wait for a stock to base. Okay, so once the stock is come fallen through that base, I wait and wait and wait. This is again from Mark Minervini, one of his book I've read through, where he says that you need to see that when a new company gets listed, it may have different reasons why they have to pay out their revenues, they may have debt, all of that stuff. They don't do well in the beginning, but internally as a company, they're doing good, but they start to post real earnings and stuff after some time, right? So they've gone public now. If you see Robinhood, they're doing the same thing. Everybody is on Robinhood in the USA, but they started to really post a lot of good earnings around this zone here in 2024. That's when the price started to curl up. When you see the price start to have a big base like this, and I have drawn this yellow line here, if you see here, and when it broke out of that yellow line here, or even I could have drawn the yellow line here, but I was a little bit aggressive, so I knew once it breaks this multiple lines here, when it goes above here, this is where I can enter around this side, this area here. Let me just go to the. So this was in 2024 though, but I wanted to explain the IPO setup. That's why I'm going to a year before how I did the IPO setup, because I'm going to talk about the IPO filters for ChartMill, how to use them. So I think I got it around here somewhere, this part of the where there was a big base here, and then I was actually watching here. If you see, I called some bar as punch bar, and then there was a it did not break out and it fell and then supported at 200-day moving average and again came back, right? When it was above all of the prices of 10-day moving average, 21-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average. And that's where I started to get on this breakout here, because I know once I have this breakout, for me, the stop loss will be the below this line here. If I draw a small line here, yeah, exactly. The swing low. I usually want to keep the swing low, and because it's tight around here, that will be good. Because there again, when there was a flush out here, it didn't come below that. It went up here. I traded this handle, and I think I don't exactly know how much was my percentage. It was in 2024. So I did that part and then I was out. I didn't really hold on to its mammoth move where it moved all the way till $60 and then back down and then back up above. That's the lesson I learned from Robinhood, that, oh, an IPO not just starts from the base, but it has a lot of room to move. And that's exactly when I did the RGTI. Exactly same setup. I'm going to show you how RGTI did and what Robinhood did. If you see, Here's where the IPO is listed. It's a poorly low volatile stock at that time, very low traded, I guess. It's gone completely down, made a big base here.
That base took 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The base took 2 years. That's what I love about those bases. When a base has happened and when the price goes above the base, now I know this is a real stock to trade. And especially in 2025, quantum computing was a big theme, and reggae computing was really putting up some really nice bases for me. I'm gonna zoom in and show you guys that. It's an IPO. The yellow line is the base which it's broken. Now the first classic example, if you remember, I drew the cups, 1, 2, and then the shallow ones here. I draw one more here. And along each step of the way, they are shallower than the previous one. And this one is even more shallow than uh, the last one, right? Actually, there's two here, I can say. They're shallow and they are also shorter in time. This one took a bigger time, smaller time, smaller and smaller, right? So this is exactly what I want to see. And this one was one of my best performing. And I got it around $11 or so, I think. Probably I might have gotten, yeah, I don't have the markings here there. Probably I took it around in this base, either here or here. I know that I bought it at around $11.30 if I am, yeah, I got it here. This was my best performing stock last year in terms of percentage. But in terms of the gains, I think MVST was still better because yeah, I did multiple times there. If I remember, I took this breakout here. I think it was the ChartMill 5-day new high. I got it. And then I saw such clean setup and it kicking out from here. I took around $11.30 or 40 cents, something like that. Very early in the morning, I got it. And then I just held it all the way because it was an IPO, right? I'm like, I'm not gonna throw away the stock. I got out at $45, almost near top. Like it went all the way to 56. But if you see it's from here, I think I was nearly 300% or so. 255.
So you entered on a low cheat, as they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the low cheat. Yeah, I love the low cheats. And this is what I prefer. And I wait for them patiently. I wait for them. And if I already know something like that is already happened, let's say I'm going to show an example for this year, what I'm watching, right? Like for ChartMill users. When ChartMill is going to show me an alert on DXYZ, I'm going to get alerted here. This is a stock which I'm watching for 2026. There's a big base here, and there is that classic line which I just drew here. All I'm waiting for it to is throw another base here. And when ChartMill throws me, maybe that's going to happen in March or April. I don't know when that, this top here, right? And it's bottoming here again. I want a big curve to happen, something like that. There may be a breakout here and then a breakout here and then boom, it might go. So probably this will be a stock to watch in summer or after. But I know this is going to show up in ChartMill. I've just marked my markings on this chart and I've kept it. But when ChartMill is going to run that alert for me, I can get in at the right time. So this is the few examples I wanted to walk through for 5-day new high. There's one more I wanted to walk through was MODG, which I think I recently traded in the last months of December. Yeah, there you go. This was something, I think I took this breakout here up until this one, only till $11 or whatever. Here's a classic example, I'll say. I took on this day when I got the alert on ChartMill. So it broke out of here, and this was the tops which broke out. I don't like to do that so much. That's why I did not go big volume on this. I took here and I exited half of my position on $11.40, something like that on this day. Luckily, right? Luckily. If not, I would have got stopped out. My green would have gone into red. In the end, it was not a big gain, but this is a good lesson for that base to see here when it gets flushed out here, and then this low wasn't gonna go below here, and then it went up. But because my stop loss was too deep, I got taken out. So again, this is a good example to see how alerts come in ChartMill. you will get into the right time. Not necessarily that I may get the full gain of this whole move, right? Because the price movement is not in my hands. What's in my hand is to enter into a trade and have a risk to my trade. That's what I can do. Chartmill can give me that alert. The rest is all about mitigation, right? So I was able to get half out, which was great. If this action didn't happen, I would have got the whole move, right? That's an if.
But it's part of the game. You can't avoid these kind of setups. The setup is good, but I mean, it goes down very hard, and you're stopped out. That's the meaning of your stop loss. And okay, afterwards it goes back up, but okay, you will always have these kind of trades.
Absolutely. And recently there's another example. I think it's JBL, if I remember. Not exactly that, but if you see, it's very similar. I saw, and this time I learned from that MODG, and I didn't trade on this breakout here. Now I'm trading JBL. I entered around this mark here. I have a position on JBL. Yeah, at 225 I entered this position. I'm $2 up right now, but my stop loss is very, very low, right? So it's lower than the stock's ADR. It's perfect for me. If it gets flushed out below the 50-day moving average, I'm okay. I don't lose too much rather than entering on the breakout here. I saw the alert on ChartMill there, but I learned from ChartMill that, oh, okay, not all alerts can work, but I need to be judicious about how I manage my stop losses. And this is a good example for me to tell the users that make sure that these filters, you can use what I say, but if your stop loss is too wide, don't take it. So this is exactly similar trade where it moved up, came back. Now it may do another 2 legs before it goes, and it might do a lot of wild moves here, but I know my stops are now below.
And do you have any idea why it came back? Was there any specific news, or is it just volatility and price action?
It's just volatility because the volume is too low on that day. It's the peak volume was during these the earnings. But even if these moves are really nice, it's still respecting that 21-day moving average here. If you see, it went down, respected that 21-day moving average again, and then up. Here it gave back here. Let's say that's the for me, I'm a little bit advanced trader, so where there's the fair value gap, I saw that aspect as well. So I know that this is a fake candle there. It's not going to take down this green area. So anyways, that's a separate topic. But let's say if I'm a beginner trader, the 50-day moving average is a good reference for me. It did not take out the 50-day moving average. My position is now is safe below these levels. Yeah. So all right. So let me go into the next slide. So I want to now talk about mainly about ChartMill, right? How do I use ChartMill? So I think it's even still a day where the market is open. So it's great for me to show some real examples. So these are my favorite ChartMill filters I use. One is the 5-day new high filter. And then I use the Minervini filter, which you created, Chris. Thank you so much. It's been so much useful of that filter. That is my umbrella filter, and most of the other filters are through that filter. So that's why I've added custom conditions to that.
Yeah, we have a Mark Minervini trend filter, the Minervini trend template, but we have also different kind of Minervini filters where we've added some growth and revenue parameters.
Yeah, I've used many of them. I've narrowed down to one which I have saved in my template as one, and then I've tweaked that to my style of trading, right? So thanks for you guys to created all the good content there, and I do recommend a lot of users to go and check a lot of different ideas which is shared on ChartMill. It's really, really useful. Experiment them. I've gone through that process. It's laborious, but that's fine. It's always, even though you spend hours and you may think that it was useless, but you learn something out of it is what I would say. So, and then I also do the momentum burst, very less, like I don't really aim momentum burst so much, but that's the last option. And then the IPO breakout, that's also one of my favorite. Let me just go to the browser. Let me show quickly. So here's my first filter. I'm going to show you guys what I have. I just refreshed. So right now there is 109 showing up here. And if you see, this is that Mark Minervini filters, which I have. Let me quickly go through that. As you know, all the conditions of the moving averages, which is is at the very top, the 50-day moving average, above the 200-day moving average. All of that stuff is saved as an idea on ChartMill ideas. You can go and copy that. So what I've done is I've used the trading idea which Chris has created for us. You can use one of the template of Mark Minervini, and then I've added few conditions which I'm going to focus on. So I like to trade stocks which has at least ADR and ATR of 2% or above. I don't want stocks which has very low volatility. I want to at least have 2% and 3%. People do trade 5%, 8% who like a lot of volatility. I prefer 3% to 4%, my sweet zone. About 2% preferable for me. Okay, that's why I have that. And the ChartMill RS rating to be above 80s. I usually tweak this sometimes. If it's a choppy day, I try to keep it 90%, or sometimes the market is doing really well, I lower it to 70%. So it's a changeable. Again, experiment that, I would say. It's a very, very good filter. I really love this filter, Chris. And
The big advantage is that if you have a lot of candidates, then you can be more strict in your filters.
yeah, and then I have added the no earnings next week. So this is one amazing thing which I still remember. I want to mention this on the video. This did not exist, and I asked the ChartMill team that there is filters for earnings next week, for earnings after 1 month, after 2 months. And I was like, I don't want to have any stock which has earnings in 1 week or 2 weeks. Can we do that? And your team put that request in under 10 days. And this filter was there. I started to use that ever since. It's one amazing thing which you guys have done. It just takes out all the clutter, because I don't want to get into a stock which is doing really well, and then I get in the next week because of the earnings, for whatever reason. Even though earnings is really good, it might have been priced in already, right? And then it goes down. So I don't want to trade a stock which has an earning right into the next week. So this saves me a lot of work to find out whether there's earnings or not. That's one filter. And one or two of the custom filters I use regularly is the last one. If you see here, the custom filter, if you go to custom filter, I have lots of custom filters. Experiment them, try to use them. There's, I think, nice videos the team has made. The one I'm using here is previous low is lower than full moving average 10. Yeah, so if you see, apply that, the from 322 stocks of Minervini bracket of universe of stocks, I only 52 to focus on. This is perfect. Like 52 is not a big number, guys. So you guys can just see that I have 52 stocks to go through. This is a live day today. And then now we are Eastern time, 2 p.m. And then if you see, there's stock LQDA, which is bouncing about here, and it's a big breakout of 16%. I'm going to ignore it. So on my left, there's a daily candle stick, and the second view is the weekly candle. So I really like to have the daily and the weekly to compare how it's doing on the long term. And I can see on the daily how it's doing in the short term, so that if it's a good swing trade setup, I want to see in my eyes that I can see there is enough evidence that this is tradable. So here's what I do. I try to scan. If you see, when I scan, there's a lot of choppiness here. I ignore. I want to see something which is bouncing with some good tapering, which has happened. Then that's when I get the attention. Easy for me to scroll like this on ChartMill. I'm just showing my process, what I do. And if I see here on the weekly, it's tapered really, really well. But here is the 30-day, $30 is the resistance. If it breaks out of that, and then I see that same upstream bio in my 5-day new high filter, then I'm going to take this one, because I remember this one. This one also has a big IPO base. So this is something which I have on my watch list, and I'm talking about this one is because it's made like a swing low here, and if it breaks out of $30, this can be a very big IPO breakout for this year. I just talked about DXYZ for this year. This is also another good stock for that. Okay, so this is what I do for filter number 1. Now I'm going to walk through filter number 2, which is okay, so if you see the filter number 2, I want to have stocks, again, the 50-day above 200-day. And then for this one, I keep RS rating of 70. And then the most important one in this filter is 5-day new high. And I try to again minimize this clutter by trying to keep something which is about 2% and below 6%. Like I said, if a stock is gone 2%, then I may want to consider it so that I have room for 5% at least for that day. Because if I enter, I want to be on the green when the day closes, so I potentially can get the follow through into the next day. If I enter a stock which is already 5% up, I don't know it can give up all the 5%, then I might as well get flushed out the very next day. So my sweet spot is 2%. The 6% is for those stocks which can go to 10%.
So if a stock is breaking out, let's say it has about 2 or 3% and it goes to 5, 6 and you're in, if at the end of the day it falls back to, let's say, 1%, do you exit or do you keep it open?
A good question. I'm gonna see again. It's a little bit tricky question there. I have exited sometimes when it is below my entry, and in many cases I don't, depending on the candle what it creates. Let me just show you an example if I can. Right, if this is a classic example here, right? If this was the breakout day I enter, I would keep the day low as the on. Then it's gone down. It's way below, right? Let's see, MODG. I think I've recently exited that. Let me see my radar. So if you see all of these stocks, so many are there on my radar, right? So these are all stocks which I've collected from ChartMill, and I keep scrolling down through them sometimes. They all are something which I got them from ChartMill. So let me just go through. Yes. Yeah. So this one I got flushed out here. I think it was a new high here on I think I entered around $15 or something. And then the day low was, I don't know what was the exact percentage. I entered on this candle here, but then I lost a few percent here, maybe 2 or 3%. But it was good that I exited because I don't know there would have been follow through. You know what I mean? It is reversed here. That's a different thing. It actually closed below the 21-day moving average. That's where I don't want to allow myself to have a bigger drawdown. So based on the stock's ADR, right? So if a stock has a 3% ADR, then I would like to keep my stop loss around 3% or maximum. I don't want to have anything 6%, 7%. Stop loss is too big. Like if it's a stock like MEST, which I showed, that was a highly volatile stock. 6-7% was its ADR. So my stop loss was 6 or 7%, which is fine. If the stock tend to move a lot, then that means I need to have a higher stop loss in that case.
So your stop loss is based on the average true range.
Yeah, for sure. Because if I have a fixed stop loss, I've tried that in the past in 2021, 22, because I was never able to get it right. I wouldn't say I've got it perfected yet. It's more fluid now, I would say. I do get stopped out. I don't get frustrated now because now I have come, I've come in sense and I've come with in terms with stop loss now. It's okay to take stop losses. That was a big lesson for me. It's part of learning and a part of investment that you learn from a stop loss. You also give something back and you get something back. Alrighty, so I'm walking through those filters. So when I get the most important one here is the 5-day moving 5-day new high. And I think even in this one, I have made sure that there is, I've not added that. I should be adding that. I go to others, then I go to earnings. No earnings in the next 2 weeks. Let's just say that. So there's only 60 instead of 72, right? So it reduces a lot of clutter. So now the LQDA went away. So maybe there's an earnings in the next 2 weeks or so. Okay, so the next one I want to go, this one is the momentum burst where I have at least 2% is my minimum gap up. The change should also be 2% because if it's gap up and it's below, I don't want to pay attention into something like that. I have a little bit of lower RS rating for this because this is more about a momentum burst up. Because if there's a gap up and the low of the day and the open is almost the same, it tends to move quickly. That's why I don't necessarily want to put the RS rating here because it usually gives very low number of stock. Because if you see, if I refresh here, there's hardly 13 or so. If I increase my RS rating here for this filter, I will hardly get one or two. I try to have very few here so I can see if there's a gap up. RKT is doing well. Actually, I've been seeing the stock a little bit, but this is now too extended, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. If there's a gap up, this one is gapped up and it's giving up. I don't like that. So again, same. If there's a gap up and I see that it had put in a lot of small candles in the last 1 or 2 weeks, then I get attention into it. If not, yeah, if you see this one here, right? This stock on this gap up day is a good day to enter than today, because there's a lot of small candles here, and my low of the day can be my stop loss. Good example there. So yeah, that's what I do. I scroll down, and my setup is the same setup for my view. I have a two chart view, the daily view and the weekly view. And I have the same moving averages what I use on the trading view. The final filter, which I use, the IPO one. If you see, it's one of my favorite filter because I come and recheck it every week, once a week or twice every week, Mondays or Fridays, to see if there is some IPO which is going to set up for me for next week. So I try to see on Monday if there is an IPO which is breaking out, or if there's an IPO which is potential for the next week, right? And on Fridays I see if something is doing well. So I think I'm going to show one or two examples which I have my eyes on. I think SCPN is one stock which I have my eyes on, and the other one was the Urban Bio, I think, which we just saw earlier on the other filter as well, the upstream bio. Yeah. So this is again another thing, like in ChartMill, I have a same stock showing for me in two different filters. It's showing up for me on IPO. It's also showing up on my Minervini filter. Or it's also showing up for me on my 5-day new high filter. So when I see the same stock again and again, that's a sign for me to pay attention to it. I quickly take that. I put it into my watch list here. Quickly recap of the IPO, which we were seeing earlier, right? Let me just do a quick, if you see there's a big base here, right? I'm on the weekly chart. I'm going to draw that yellow line like I did earlier. Here's that big base which is formed. It's done a breakout and then flushed out. People here were, I always believe that the algos today are so smart that they want to flush out a lot of weak hands. If you see there's a breakout here, and people who entered here got thrown out, and again a breakout happened here, and people thought that it's going to give a move, so it again flushed out. I really like such flushing out now, because for me this gives me more evidence that the bulls are actually in control of the stock than the bears. I would want to monitor it to see if it gives me 1 or 2 days of flat days. That will be it for me to enter the stock maybe in this month at some point in time. But if it breaks out, then I'm not going to chase. I'm not a person who chases a stock which is extended. As long as the price is close to the moving averages, I would consider to get into a stock. So that's my filters. Any questions?
Well, regarding your filters, so you have multiple trading strategies, multiple filters. Do you have a personal favorite, or does it really depend on the market environment when deciding which strategy you are going to focus on?
Yeah, so I would say for my swing trading, my go-to filters will be the 5-day new high filter and the Minervini filter. And on the Minervini filter, I use those important criteria, that is the bounce from the 10-day moving average or the bounce from the 21-day moving average. The primary reason is that these two filters are so good that it gives me the least amount of risk. The risk management is so good on this one, because I don't know if there is any filter like that exists anywhere in any other tool. But ChartMill gives me that opportunity to get that bounce and then trade off. To explain that in a better way, I will give one of the examples when I really learned how to use ChartMill. If I go back in time, so 2024, I really nailed how to use ChartMill is on this trade. I will not forget this. This is something which is in my mind. I will remember 20 years from now, thanks to ChartMill at that time, right? So if you see the basis here, and the drawings are still there, if you see, and this is for the users to see what sort of actions. Like I said, when there's a flush out happens, right? I really like that is what I'm trying to say, because when there's a low and then there's another low that happens, and the 21-day moving average, I like that, because now if I entered the stock on this day or this day, either one of the 2 days, now it's past, but I know I entered either these 2 days when it bounced from the previous day moving average. I think I entered on this day. because my filter is to apply that previous day low. This is the low, which is below the 21-day moving average, and the stock was new high on that day. So it's on the two filters. Either it would have showed up on the 5-day new high, and also on the Minervini filter, where it's showing that the stock is made basis. It's very close to the 50-week, 2-week new high. All of the filters are met, and it's throwing in these small candles. It's, for me, that aha moment, like you call, where I enter here. It never went below here, the $24 mark. My stop loss, let me just say, it was the smallest stop loss I could keep. 2.3% was my stop loss. And I wrote the whole from here. I think I exited at the tops in one of these days. So, which is like, let me just see how many sessions that was. If it was this day, 22% in around 27 bars. Like, this is great. Like, for me, I'm more satisfied. I don't necessarily want stock to go 10% one day and then the next day it's below. I really like these stocks because every day it's shipping 1% up, 1% up, then it gives back 2%, but then again regains back that, right? And each time it's holding that 21-day moving average was so much more evidence for me to hold on to this stock. And then I got, after the earnings, it made another gap up. I was like, okay, it's extended too much. So I exited somewhere here. This is that example I want to give to the users. If you guys want to use ChartMill, there's many different ways it can be used. For me, my personal favorite are the Minervini ones, where I try to see if the stock is tapering like that and comes and bounces on the 21-day moving average or the 10-day moving average and up. So I have very, very small stop loss, because if my entry, let's say I entered here and it went below, then my entry is wrong. I am okay to get a stop loss. And then it's not that the stock, I need to remove the stock from my watch list. It's fine. I re-enter here or here. The goal is, when you enter, your entry should never be on the day where it can be taken out the low of that. For a swing trader, I need to be in a stock and out as fast as possible. This is something Mark Minervini says. I want to be in a stock which can take me out in the next 1 week or so, and not sit in it for 2 months and have no progress. Rather get 5% or 3% conceded. And if it goes towards where your goal is in 2 weeks time, it's better. Even if it's slow, it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's very important for swing traders. Well, it's called opportunity cost. If you have to stay too long in one stock that doesn't move.
Yeah, same thing with MVST as well. Like when I entered, that was in 2024, I learned ChartMill. So 2025, I perfected it. So I want to still more perfect it. So where I guess there's no perfect solution. There's no perfection. You can always get better. I would rather say that. I entered here on the bounce from 21-day moving average, same filters used, right? So again, this is the evidence for that. ChartMill, this will be shown on ChartMill, that it is having a low below 10-day moving average or the 21-day moving average. It will have thrown the low, and the next day it's newer high that will also be on that filter. If you see these stocks showing up on those filters, you enter there. It should never be taken back. It should always go upside from there. And if it goes below, it's fine, except that you entered in a wrong day and take a small loss and get a big gain, right? So that's that. Let me go back to my slide so I can try to talk about more things. I talked about examples. Okay, risk management. I think I mentioned about that while I was going through the charts. Say I have $100,000 in my portfolio, right? So I tend to not go more than 8 stocks or something. Between 10 to 15% I would keep. Let's say it's Tesla, right? I might go 18%. Or if it's like Micron or Nvidia, I'll go a little bit higher. If it's, I don't know, Robinhood, which is again in few billion dollars, right? So I'll go 10%. And if it's MVST or something, I'll go 8%, right? If it's a lower market cap, high volatility, I'll keep a little bit lower on my position sizing. I try to keep the number as a reference, because in my way of trading, I don't want to do the math. Oh, I have so much money. What is my percentage? It's too much thinking for me. I want to get into my account and know I have handful of good stocks. And if something is not performing, that's okay. It gets stopped out. but I don't want to have 35 stocks and then I don't know which one is performing, which one is not performing. It's been a learning for me. Again, another lesson from Mark Minervini. In one of his section, he says diversification. People say diversify, diversify, diversify. I think it's a wrong story that has been oversold. Mark Minervini cut that and said, if you diverse your stocks, then you are diversifying. It's the worst way to invest. He says instead, focus on the leaders. This is what we need to focus on, the leaders. And ChartMill gives me those leaders and even the themes. That's something I try to track that a little bit, themes and sectors, and get into the leading themes. And position size around 10 to 15%, maybe about 5 to 8 stocks, and keep a little bit of cash as a room to see if I want to expose more or not based on how SPY index is doing.
Yeah. And what's your typical risk per trade as a percentage of your total portfolio?
I would say again, that's the percentage I don't do portfolio, because again, in my narrative, people tend to say if I have $100,000, my risk of portfolio is 0.5% or 1% or 2%. Then they will think that it's 100,000. Then it's going to be, I'm going to have to risk 1K or 2K. I don't think like that. My way of thinking is if it's Tesla and if it's 3% is its ADR, then 3% is my stop loss. Or let's say it's a very volatile condition now, I'll keep 4% instead of 3% might be too tight as a stop loss. ADR is 3%. I'll keep 4%. So if it's 15% is my position, right? So then barely keeping about $600 as my stop loss, right? If it's $10,000 into it, less than $500, which is less than 1%. Again, I don't want to calculate this percentage. I'd rather have a stock and see what's his market cap. It's very easy for me to decide market cap is high, I can go more. Then knowing the ADR, it's an automatic stop loss. I don't need to say, oh, it's 1%. Based on my portfolio, I set the stop loss, but I can get taken out of that, right? Which is why my stop loss is bound by the stock which I trade in and the setup I trade in. Okay, so the exit strategy, this is the hardest part for me. I don't think I mastered the exit yet. That's something I'm still learning. I'm continuing to learn that from people and even through Twitter, and I follow you and many others to see how the best traders exit, because there are times like MVST was the best trade. Of course, I talked about the best stuff. And again, the Rigetti computing, I think, and the other one which I mentioned, they were not the best exits I did. Could have had better trades on them. I did not. So something which I need to still learn to see how well I can get good. But something which I am keeping a rule of thumb is when I know I have 2 hours or 3 hours of profit, at least take 50% off. That is something which I'm doing. At times, if there's more room for a stock to run, then I again expose back, right? Then again, that's when it becomes very fluid. I still need to master that. I think it's an art. In my opinion, I don't think there's a perfect answer for that as well. It's a learning curve, and then sometimes it's an intuition, sometimes it's experience, a combination of these things, which can help us to get good at it.
I think it's the most difficult part of any trading strategy. Anyone can learn to place a stop loss and to recognize some setups, but you don't see the right side of the chart. So when to exit, it depends. It depends first and foremost on the market condition. When you have a very clear bull market, then yeah, sometimes it looks easy. But when the market turns and everything gets stopped out, then why didn't I take my profit? Yeah, that it's always it's easy afterwards, but yeah, it's I think it's for every trader it is the most difficult part.
Yeah, I'm still like, this is something which I still need to learn. Like, I think I was struggling to become good swing trader in the 2021, 22. I was learning and learning. I kind of eliminated all the noise, and I was having these issues of there was no style. I think people call it style drift. Like, I would do option trading for a couple of months. It worked well, and then it didn't work well. Then I would day trade. I would forex trade. I would do a few things together. So there was so much style drift. I don't know what was not working, right? It was not the knowledge. Knowledge was not the issue. I think I knew too much, but I did not put into an order and discipline and patience, and all those attributes were missing. I think one of those things was that. Then I narrowed down with more successful people, reading books, all of that really helped me. Then when I come to see using the ChartMill was the pathway to get into, again, I had too many tools. I was using 18 different subscriptions. I mean, Discord and these things, right? A lot of people are there trying to tell you buy the stock, you will get 100% and all of that stuff. All of that stuff, I've been scammed, all of that stuff. I'm just being transparent so that people can see themselves in me, that I'm not something bulletproof. I have always, I've been gone through all of those tests, and those tests were essential, I think. And that is where I've gone through these barriers and hurdles, and I'm at the point where I managed to get past to the process of trading, to get into good stocks and make some good runs, which is why my percentage is, it's above average. It can be better. If I get good at exit, I think I will probably even get better at my performance. All right. So again, I've talked about ChartMill the entire time. I'm just going to summarize. The most important thing is it's very easy to use. The tool is easy to use. That's why you go for it. And after using so many different tools, FinMiz and many other things, I come down to ChartMill because be a swing trader, I find it very easy to use. I just come save my filters in different tabs, come and refresh them and see what shows up there, catch them, and then put them on my trading view, and then zoom in, zoom out, whatever entries.
Yeah, I think
Right.
basic usage is fairly simple. Only the custom filters, that takes a little bit of practice, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we are aware of that. So there are some couple of videos, but we will make some following videos that focus more on those specific custom views, because it's a very strong tool. Yeah.
Yeah. The custom filters is amazing. I really love it. I think I've mentioned that at the bottom. It's fantastic. The custom filters are so much. I mean, I've saved quite a lot of them. I did not walk through all the custom filters, honestly speaking, because I think I'll need 2 hours just to explain every single thing, why I use. There are so many filters I have and custom filters. Like I'll just can name one or two, right? What is possible by ChartMill if users are watching, right? I have filters like you can see yesterday the percentage of move was only 1%, and then that will eliminate a lot of stock which had a wiggle yesterday. So you have only a few set of stock which has a very small candle yesterday. Not necessarily it's an inside day. Sometimes you just need a small candle which is like I think turning top candle or whatever that is. And then today it's a small percentage of 2% or 1% up. You can still enter on that because now you can enter on a very low stop loss and hold it, right? If it gets stopped out, you have a very low risk. That's just one example to mention. I have few more examples where I have a custom filter where I have at a weekly level, like last week, the weekly low hit the 10-week moving average, meaning the stock hit a dip last week and it's curling upside this week. It's an amazing, powerful filter. Yeah. So there's many filters like that. Again, for users, custom filters, please use them, explore them, and whatever you have it in your mind, you can put that in ChartMill and try to find it. And I've also emailed to your team and they've responded me to how to use it and what I can do on these ChartMill custom filters. And I was able to use the way I want to use them. It was really, really useful for me. And that's why I use it. And of course, the no earnings, which I mentioned, I use it in every filter now. And again, having the daily and the weekly side by side, it's fantastic. I don't know if that's possible in any other filters. Usually people have a lot of filters. You see that as Gantt and whatever in a daily mode or a weekly mode or whatever. And then, but I like that there is this nice arrangement of daily, weekly, and you can also have 3 views if you want. But I want extended months to see. That's why I only 2. I really like that. Yeah, these are the highlights ones which I can mention. Of course, there's many other reasons. For the eyes, it's easy. The button clicking, it's not confusing. It's easy to use for me. From my perspective, I find it's easy to even go and navigate to the filters at the very top, select them through drop down. All of that features, right? These are all usability of a tool. And because I'm a techie guy, I find it easier to use. That's why I think it's easy for me. If people are not techie, that's fine. If they give a little bit more time to ChartMill, and I'm sure they will start to love it more the more they use it. Okay, improvements. For improvements, I would say, one of the thing which I think I've mentioned that in the past, that we don't have live data, and that's fine. It's not unnecessary for me. And you said that in order to have a live data, it takes a different API and all of that stuff.
We are really focused on swing traders, but I know what you mean, because even as a swing trader, it can be an advantage if you can get in on an intraday chart. That's true. But our main focus are not day traders. Let's be very clear about that. We are a swing trading platform, and also a long-term investment platform, because we have also a serious bunch of fundamental filters and earnings estimates and so on. So ChartMill started as a pure technical filter, but now it's a full range fundamental and technical filter. But as you mentioned, we don't at the moment we don't offer real-time quotes. That's true.
Yeah, and another improvement, I think I've already seen improvement after I mentioned the sector filter. I like the improvements, and there is still room for that. I think, like, we can go into the sector, and I really love that on the sector filter, we can sort them by RS rating for across the sector. We can see what's the best performing sector by percentage today, yesterday. All of that stuff is really, really nice. I really like that. That's something which has a little bit more improvement, but it wasn't even there, but now it's improved so much better. I use it now than before. I saw the video which you shared me. Thank you for sharing the video. I learned how to use the sector filter better. Again, there's some things which I think at a sector level, I think if you can a way to see a sector, and I can see a bunch of stock to see if they all are looking like jigsaw of the same set. You know what I mean, right? So if you have, let's say right now, gold and silver is moving so well, right? So like when that sector dries up, the next sector, which is going to be nobody knows. I want to know that when it's happening, not after it's happened. And that's where I'm trying to see if there are sectors which are setting up, if that's the way which I can see those, tiles of charts of sectors, which we can see if they're all moving together, and we can see as a consensus that this sector is getting ready to move. So that will help us to get into the leading sector and then find the leading stock in the leading sector.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more visual.
More visual.
But also sometimes it's not only a specific sector or a specific industry or sub-industry, it's a group of stocks, and that is something we are working on.
Perfect. That's amazing. Yeah, I was talking about, instead of sector, I would say theme. Like, the theme sectors, where it could be an AI, and that could be related to chips, or it could be related to energy for the. So yeah, UI improvements, not too much. I really like the UI. Just about, like, when I say I use TradingView, the reason why I use TradingView is not that I don't want to see the chart on the ChartMill. It's just that it gives me that opportunity to pinch the charts, resize them, zoom in, zoom out. All of that stuff is cleaner in TradingView. Of course, TradingView's purpose is that to play around with the charts. That's what their goal is, and they've achieved that really well. So I use it for that. ChartMill gives me a nice chart to see visually how a stock is performing. I like what it already has. Of course, improvement, you can always add more features to the charts.
A couple of questions, not so many. So we're still early in the year, and I think you already mentioned something, but are there any specific goals you're working toward right now, or any areas of your trading you want to improve or pay extra attention to this year?
Areas, like I mentioned, I think the exit is what I'm working on. That's something which is still an ongoing process. Maybe if I better that, I would be happy to share that. If I'm able to use ChartMill in trying to find out what are the indicators and what can I do, what setup or what sort of like filters I can apply, which can tell me that this stock is extended, it's time to exit, right? Something like that. That'll be amazing to know and figure out. That's a learning curve. So that's one area. My own personally, I think I can get more discipline in terms of I think in October, November, because I had a very big run in summer. I got carried away a little bit to be a bit more aware, like situational awareness or whatever, that when it's too choppy, it's not necessarily I take the trade because setup is great. Maybe I need to respect the SPY or the index level at that time a little bit more, because I had a drawdown and my percentage would have been more than 60% or so overall. It came down to 45 because there was a little bit of some of the gains went down and some of the new setup which I entered got stopped out. That's why I lost a little bit. If not, I really had even a spectacular finish. That I want to improve. Maybe if I can get good at this, maybe represent myself and ChartMill for USIC championship. That'll be something personal goal for me.
You also mentioned that I think, like every one of us, every trader, it took a lot of trial and error before you became consistently profitable. And now, when you look back, what was the hardest part of that learning curve for you to overcome?
I think for me, because I had accumulated so much knowledge, probably I had a style drift quite too much, because sometimes when you think that you can do it all type of a mentality you may have, I kind of am a mentality where, because when I take up any sport, I'll try to do that. When I take up soccer, I want to do that. When I want to do everything, you want to do as good as possible. So not necessarily you will master that, right? So it kind of became that I was jack of all of that stuff. In the end, I realized that maybe that's not, it's trading is investment is more like a profession. You have to respect it. You need to garner it. You need to play it with so much more respect and so much more discipline. And you have to sharpen your knife every day. It kind of was a learning curve through, all the losses or through the inconsistency and the frustration. Those were built up for that. Maybe for users who can see themselves in my place, maybe avoid style drift if you're doing that. There's a lot of these things, I think, in the back of our mind it is telling us, but sometimes we are a little bit adamant and we continue to pursue that, but that never gives the success.
Okay, yeah, that's very recognizable. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to traders who are just getting started with swing trading? Because we know, as you say, you have to sharpen your knife every day. It's not an easy game.
Yeah. Let's say in my case, I needed to, but there's a lot of things what I've done, it's not needed in fact, whenever I think that somebody's starting now, they may see themselves that, we are quite ahead of them in terms of knowledge, or they have to still spend so many hours and days. Not necessarily. The reason why you are having this video call is for us to share that lesson and to reduce that time. That's what I want them to not to make the same mistakes. That's one thing I would want to share, that maybe the mistakes I did, they don't need to make that. Another thing is, of course, it takes time to get the experience. Let's say for all art, we say that you need 10,000 hours, right? If you want to learn an instrument, it's a 10,000 hours, right? Not necessarily, right? You can get good at even 5,000 hours, because it shouldn't be that if you enjoy what you do, you can get good at even faster. So that way, the new traders can still be motivated. They don't need to put in every day. They need to be more focused. I think last year I was telling myself, be more focused, don't deviate, keep your filters, which is what I had so many filters. At one point in time, I think even though I had come down from from day trading, option trading, all of that stuff, when I was in ChartMill, that nature of me was there. I had like 16 or 18 different filters on ChartMill. Like, I honestly want to say that that also is a style drift, because you are trying to have so many different types of setups. Which one is more consistent, you yourself wouldn't know then, right? So which is why I narrowed down that even further. I would say use ChartMill, be very methodic, come to few handful ones, like how I had like 30. In fact, there was a time I had like 65 stocks in my portfolio or something, and I don't know which one is doing well or not. Like, when I reduced that to 5 or 6, then I felt like it's manageable, because we are human beings, we are not machine. Our eyes can see few things, we can focus on few things. Less is better, and that's where lesser number of filters is better. Use fewer indicators when we are on the chart. Like, if a new trader comes in, they'll see all these experts will have 16 different indicators on their chart. It's not necessary. Maybe 4, 3. It should be handful. Let's say it should be a measure count in your fingers. If it's going to be a second-hand number of counts, anything, right? Then it's too many. It's not able to. You're gonna struggle to hold it. Be it the number of filters or the chart or the indicators, all of that stuff. For beginners, try to simplify things. That's it.
And I think also accepting that there will be hard time when markets really, yeah, they're going everywhere, and you will have hard weeks, hard months, and even maybe hard years. But that consistency is so important.
Yeah. That's one thing. I think even for beginners into trading or new into ChartMill, like I said, I had to learn the hard way that when I was getting the stop loss hit, right? So it's a human nature that, oh, I got hit stop loss, I want to make the money out of it. There's that revengeful type of a behavior we may tend to get, right? So I wanna think that way as, no, it's the price you pay, it's the fee. It's like if you want to get good at music, you have to pay the tutor who's going to teach you that, right? So this is what we are paying to the market. And I became very humble with about that. We are trying to make money from the most smartest people on this planet, right? The stock is pushed by, not by the retailers, it's pushed by the algos, it's pushed by billion-dollar companies, it's pushed by the institutional traders, and those guys are hiring the most smartest, disciplined warriors. If we are trying to make money out of them, we have to be so much more equipped, which is why simplify things, be more disciplined and be more patient. These two things, nobody can take it away from you.
Okay, I think that gives us a really clear picture of how you trade and how you use ChartMill as part of your daily workflow. So on behalf of the ChartMill crew, and I'm sure a lot of other ChartMill users as well, I want to sincerely thank you again for sharing such an open look to your strategy and process. And as I've already mentioned, I'm really convinced that interviews like these are very valuable for other new and even experienced traders. So I'm going to add direct links to the screens you've discussed. I will add them in the description below the video. So for the viewers, if you want to stay up to date with Ransome's setups and trades, make sure to check out his X account at Ransome VM. I will also put a link in the description. And a quick question for the viewers: if you are a ChartMill user and you'd be open to being interviewed for this series, then I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment saying you're interested and what style of trading you prefer, and then I'll reach out. So Ransome, I wish you continued success in your trading journey now in 2026 and then afterwards. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. So thanks again and take care.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm going to be happy to help you and your users. In case if people have questions about the ChartMill filters, I'm going to share that, and they can ask me questions. I'll be happy to help all the ChartMill users. They want to be in touch with me and you, and we can be a small community and be able to be successful together. I'll be more than happy.